Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all today to the School Leadership Forum. This afternoon, our topic is educators' well-being during these trying times. Care for yourself, care for others. I have discovered the importance of self-care as an empty lantern provides no light. Today's speakers are part of the Partners for Possibility community. We have Paula Quinsee, a learning process facilitator, and Dr. Rama Naidu, a community building facilitator. I would like to welcome them both onto the platform. Thank you.
So welcome, everyone. So the invitation said, listen to the experts about how to take care of yourself. So let's put that one behind us immediately and to acknowledge that you are all experts. You're already in the room with us. And Paula and I have discussed this, and the way we're going to do it is to bring your voices, your wisdom into the room and see what we can learn from each other as community. It's not for us to tell you what, I'm sure in this room, there's lots of wisdom and lived experience that's going to be useful for us. And so what Paula and I will do is to build a container where we can start to do this work, and we'll simply bounce back to you what we're seeing and hearing. And as we talk to each other, we are convinced, we are sure that something useful will come out of the session. And just maybe some basic things that we're going to work in breakout rooms. And Paul and I have worked on some questions that we think are provocative and useful to get us started. Just a couple of things. When you're in conversation, it's really important that we put on our listening caps more than our talking caps, that we listen very carefully to what each person is saying or sharing, because that's the greatest gift we can give to someone. Just listen. If you have to ask a question, make it a question of curiosity, to understand, but not to take away the limelight of the person who's actually talking in the space. And so we've got 3 questions that we're going to work with over the day. And Paula and I will hold that space jointly. And at the end of the session, bring it together and see what we're learning from each other. Paula, do you want to add anything before we start with the first question?
No, I think you've covered it. And it's more important that we hear, everyone else's voices.
Great stuff. Thanks, Paula. So the first question that we have, Paula, do you have it in the chat already? No.
No, I can put it in the chat now.
So the first question is just connecting us to where we are at the moment. Paula will put it into the chat so you have it. And the question is very simply, and we'll do this in groups of 3. So you will be with 2 other people in this community. And you're going to have about 10 minutes. It's about 3 minutes each to have the conversation, to share your story of where you're at. And the question is, given all that is happening around you right now, with the lockdown, with the reopening of the schools, with the stress of all these things that are happening right now, where are you at? Professionally and personally. So you've got 3 minutes to tell your story in this group of where you're at right now, whatever you're grappling and dealing with. Trudy?
Thank you. I was with educators in the room, and I was struck about, despite tiredness and many challenges, how positive they are still, and how they just say, we're not going to give up, we are carrying on, and they are focusing on how to help the learners more and better and catch up. I'm just in awe, and I just want to thank them for the positivity. I know that there's another side, that one sometimes have to acknowledge your pain and your struggles, and just to deal with that and your tiredness. But also thank you for what I heard, the positive part. And then I think COVID is something, there's like 2 sides. On the one hand, there's sadness for people who lost learners, educators who's lost their lives, or parents. And then on the other hand, thankfulness if you are still alive. And I think that makes us want to enjoy every day also. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. So Trudy has just given a gift into the space to all the principals, despite your hardships, the notion that we salute you and inspired by your work. Thank you, Trudy. Anyone else?
Maybe I can speak. I had the privilege of entering a room with people from Mpumalanga, Silisiwe. It's a school, and they were all sitting in their boardroom talking about the challenges that they have as a rural community. But when we talked very briefly, I think what came out is, first of all, that we acknowledge the fact that as teachers, we almost need to be superhuman beings at the moment, dealing with ourselves and our families, and then also helping this, not just the children, but also their families, that's what we do. And what was amazing, the bunch of people that I saw, they were, when I asked them, are you guys still strong? They went, we are still strong. So for me, that was really special for them to share that with me.
Thanks, Ariane. Beautiful. I know we have this amazing group of people in the room with us, and Sarah just shared that. They're all sitting together and joining us in this conversation, which is absolutely great. Let's take one more bit of feedback. Just what struck you about the conversation, and then we'll hand over for the next big question about more directly to the topic today about COVID. Yes, Tony?
I think what was exciting for me was that there was a lot more positivity second time around. The educators and what have you were a lot more confident that they could handle it, that it was the second time around. So everything had been painted, and in the little sort of social distancing parts of the school that needed it. So, and I think we accepted that a lot easier, and we've learned a lot from the previous round. So a lot more positivity. I think my impression, certainly where I was at my school, was that the first time round we were galvanized into inaction. There was this fear of everything. This time I think we're better handling it, and we're coping with the alternate days in our case. We have big classes where we have to split them, and we alternate days, but everything very good.
Thank you, Tony. So there's just something about this first question that we put into this space about connecting to meet people where they're at right now, because it seems like every day brings on new challenges, new possibilities. And as Trudy said, it's a conscious choice, right? Either I sit here and wait, or I embrace the only thing that's there, which is the possibility of a different kind of future. And so you step into that space. So Paula, yes. Over to you.
Great. So I think it's something that's come up for me around what was just been chatting, people have mentioned, and also the group that I was in was, it's almost like kind of taking one day at a time, because, we can't preempt things. We don't know what we don't know. So it's about how do we learn to deal with what's happening in that situation and in that moment. And that links into our second question, which I'm going to post. I'm going to post it into the chat group now. What have I discovered about myself, about how I process and deal with difficult situations?
What was so beautiful is what came out in our group is that what the program taught the principals, and how they could adapt, how they can do their meetings now via Zoom, something that they never knew how to do before. And some of the teachers that was in our group also said that there's things that they now need to do that they never had to do before. A lot of admin work and so forth. And how positive the discussion was about the things that they learned about themselves and about how to go forward. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Irma. Let's hear from someone else.
Yes. Well, I was saying, sitting at home as a person who retired in 2019 and observing the principals trying to adjust and battle with completing the work that is expected of them, and the situation not allowing them it was quite challenging, you know, and so I was saying, I think it could be very crucial that we add more manpower, particularly those of us that are sitting at home, find a way to assist, you know, because when the learners come in sessions, some days they're at school, some days they're not. And some of the children don't do any work once they are at home, especially the primary school kids. They're playing around the street. It's the extension of being not at school. So they're just enjoying themselves. So I think there is a demand that says we can't sit at home and not do any form of assistance. And my colleague was saying to me, perhaps we can use the sports grounds because the space is quite big, but then it would need, you know, some kind of systems to put in place so that it doesn't interfere with the running of the school. Yeah,
Great.
but quite challenging.
That's great. Thanks, Maureen. Looks like some ideas are coming up there as well in terms of how do we become innovative and creative. Fantastic. Have we got time for one more, Rama?
Yeah, Christine had a hand up.
Yes, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Fine. Firstly, I just want to appreciate that I'm still alive and I'm still kicking. So we thank God for these amazing changes that we have, because of change make you to stand on your toes to do things differently. You know, COVID-19 has taught us to appreciate, you know, every moment, every second, every minute of the day. And what is it that is happening to our people around us, the teams that we are working with, your family, your acquaintances, your neighbors, the community at large, so as to appreciate one another. And to thank God for this pandemic to be there, so as we learn a different way of how to live our life, how to take ourselves professionally. In professionally, I could love to say we have learned a lot as a team. We have learned that we never knew about the Microsoft Teams and the Zoom and so forth. And then now we are able to have a meeting while looking at one another, and people are able now to touch, you know, that literacy of ICT. It has come to most of the people, especially the older people like myself, the BBT one, that were not exposed to ICT, and then when they've learned ICT at the later stage.
Thanks, Christine.
Yes.
And Paula, we have Lee as the last one. Let's listen to Lee quickly, and then we can.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I just think that we have become the most amazing problem solvers, and to stay inquisitive. If there's ever been a time, it's exhausting, but I also think we will be a generation to tell stories that nobody else will be able to. And just to say, and in our group, we have Kirshni, who's actually a COVID survivor, and her story was just too beautiful to be thankful for the little things in life.
So we really want to ask you, in this difficult time that we faced, and after having shared those two questions, the one about where you at, and the second about, so what has it taught you about yourself? Let's talk directly to why we're here today. And it's about the question of self-care. What do you do? What do you do for yourself in these stressful times? And write it into the chat, just one line, and let's see the wisdom and the lived experience in this room. And then Paula and I will talk to what comes out of that chat. So if you just type into the chat, please, what do you do for self-care? How do you take care of yourself in this difficult time? We all do something, however crazy it might sound, so we can learn from each other.
Playing golf, walking in nature.
Great stuff.
Mindfulness. Walk my dogs. Go for a run. Yes, Lee, I'm with you. Morning routine, meditation, reading, disappearing, asking for help when needed, absolutely. Making time to get away in nature, breathing exercises, vitamins, eating healthy, taking time out, me time, Pilates. Connecting with people means a lot. Listening to power music on my way to work, going for therapy and going to church. Not much, I've neglected myself. Yoga, walking, spending quality time with my granddaughter, nature and music. My colleagues and I walk 5 kilometers a week after school. Wow. Practice having grace with myself and things not working as well in the past. Relaxing with music and prayer, meditation, exercising, reading, me time, doing online courses. Streaming and trying our best to be as healthy as possible by buying supplements, exercising, drinking warm water.
Keep them coming. Let's listen to the weird ones. The weird ones. Come on, the ones that we know you do, but you don't want to share it.
I nurture my mind by taking advantage of all these courses: soul, meditation, body, eating healthy, connecting with higher power, being kinder to myself, connecting with others, making them feel appreciated, seen, heard, and loved, praying every day with family. So I'll throw in, it's not so much a weird one, but I really enjoy sipping on a glass of wine outside on my patio. Yes, Benjamin, enjoying a good G&T. Thank you. Socializing with friends, binge watching, yes, Selwyn series. My stepdaughter introduced us to series. I have to confess, I've watched a few myself. Reminding yourself that it's not about myself and focus on how to respond in the moment, because my belief in God will guide my steps and focus day by day. Singing karaoke, Mercer, you've just opened the door. I think we're going to end with a karaoke song. Still with a cold one, watching Netflix. Having planned weekends away in nature with your husband, no work, yes, gives me something to look forward to. Well, clearly, only Benjamin and I are the only two that will openly confess to drinking alcohol. In crochet. Sure, that's a task or a skill that I don't think I would ever be able to master. So, Rika, well done to you. Red wine, yes, Serene, red wine and good craft beer. Let's not be shy. It's not Alcoholics Anonymous, but we can still say we're human. Cupboard cleaning out and throwing away. Yes, Graham, I did that myself in December. I had 8 big black dustbin bags that I donated to charity. Serene, are you sure? Absolutely. Doing pottery in Atlanta, I want to learn how to do that. So please share your contact with me. Painting, gardening, yes, I did that as well. Also love a glass of white wine and yes, a G&T. Thank you, Maritza. Join the club. Laughter, eating sour worms and laughing at the comedy on people's faces, hiding in the car away from the house. Oh, well, now we know your hiding place. We know where to find you. Crochet, not about the product, the process. Yes, exercising, meditation, being calm, positive attitude. I also did some painting, some DIY around the house. I found it very, very therapeutic to do painting. So I painted our garage doors and our front door, and also I did gardening too. Speaking to people whom I don't usually have a conversation with, appreciating people more, acknowledging who they are and what they can offer. Chantal Paulson.
Wow.
Zoom exercises. Close the lounge door, play loud music, dancing. Diamond dot painting, that's interesting. Laura, you'll have to explain more about that. I also know a friend of mine that did adult coloring in and saw that as a form of therapy. So and got themselves adult coloring in books and indulged themselves with that.
Come on.
There's got to be one or two. Ah, there we go. Maureen, read Bible, praying a lot in a group chat with other former educators, sharing lots of, is it medication or meditation? Family support and encouragement to look after themselves, TV soapies, eating, giving to the needy, enjoying your grand girls. They drive you nuts, and spending on takeaways. Basically putting tiny beads onto a page to create a painting. Okay, so that's what diamond dot painting is. Well, thank you, Laura. I learned something new today, and I'm going to go and research that. My daughters and I go to the beach every Saturday morning. That's awesome. How did you cope when the beaches were closed? Not well, I'm sure.
Thanks for that, folks. You can keep them coming onto the chat because we are recording this session. And I just want to come back to what we said initially when we started the session, that it's difficult for Paula and I to bring anything new into the space. Look at the creative stuff that you guys are doing to keep yourself caring for each other. And we started off with all the clever ones. And as we got to the end, we got a bit more weird and really opened up to say the little things that you do that make a difference for you. And so just as you watch the chat and see all that amazing stuff come to the room, what's striking you about what you're seeing? Are you seeing a pattern? Are you see something that's useful for you about self-care? And just the aha moment for you as you saw these beautiful things come into the room. What struck you about that? Let's just keep this conversation in plenary. And we're sharing for the sake of learning for all of us. It's not just for anything else. It's just so that we all share. So anyone, in terms of what you've just seen there, what's striking you about the stuff that you just saw in the chat that Paula read out for us? Albert.
Hi. What pleased me about this chat is I don't know who said it, but taking time away with husband, just staying, doing no work. I think that tops it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
Benjamin says different things appeal to different people, but there are some new things that he will consider in the future.
Great. Thanks, Benjamin.
I was, oh gosh.
Yes, we can hear you.
Go, it's okay.
May I?
Yes.
Oh, I was just wishing now that I could actually copy and paste all the stuff somewhere, because it's amazing to see what other people have been doing. And, you know, sometimes we need to get out of that box that we're sitting in. And a lot of my friends are into gardening. I'm not into gardening, but surely there's other things that one can do. And so, yes, it is amazing to see what people have been doing and really spending more me time on yourself, because we tend to neglect ourselves along the way because the family takes over all our time. So now that we can also think about ourselves, because if we are not healthy, we cannot be productive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mercy, you're raising such an important point. Can you imagine for a minute if in your schools you had this same conversation and asked people to share, how do you take care of yourself? Just as a conversation, and the gems that will come out of that. So there's a lot of wisdom and lived experience in the room. We as leaders just need to tap into it and show people what's there. And we find our own way. Look at the comments that are coming in of people learning different lovely things that you can do to take care of yourself. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we've had comments here where the little things seem to be really special. It seems as if everyone had to go back to basics and find themselves, and we had to find our own little piece of heaven. And that as people were finding good time to still enjoy, despite losing loved ones, they still look forward and not drowning themselves in pain and fear. And there's such a strong awareness about the value of self-care and others. And that we all are unique and have coping skills, and we have strengths and weaknesses, and we're a work in progress. Absolutely. Nantlanhla's just posted a link, so some of you may have to leave early. If you could just click on the link and give us feedback of the session, just because obviously your feedback is important and it helps us in terms of adding value with future sessions like this and future forums.
So I just want to draw your attention to the patterns that I've been watching as I watch the chat. And in no particular order, I heard a lot about prayer, a lot about quietness, a lot about nature, being with yourself, and little things that don't necessarily cost money. Little things that don't cost money to go into yourself and find time for yourself. And Luba started off when you said, Luba, you said something about an empty vessel. And then if you can't keep refilling yourself, you actually have little use to others. So self-love is the basis of any kind of love. If you can't love yourself first and make time for that, say, I care for myself, it's not vanity, it's self-love. Then you can't give what you don't have. So actually by filling up your own cup, by doing your own work, loving yourself more, we can be more available to other people. And I think also, as opposed to the prayer, I also saw a lot about drinking and red wine and boozing. So it's all part of the spectrum, right? Find whatever you can do to just say, hey, I'm okay, I love myself. And I'm going to take this time just to make myself feel special. And I'm quite sure there's a lot more weird and wonderful things that we do in this space. And if we had more time to actually share that, it would come up in this space. But just to notice for you, as you heard others speak and watch the chat, how important it is for you to make this time for yourself at this difficult moment, especially given all the stress and unpredictability, uncertainty you're facing right now. And we get so busy with it that if we don't take care of ourselves, we get a kick in the butt to remind us. Yeah. And the kick in the butt is not always something we want. And we see it all the time, folks. We see principles falling down, people getting really stressed out, not knowing what to do, losing their temper, all the things that we see that are a consequence of not being fully present in the moment. So does anyone want to add anything to what we're talking about right now in terms of the self-care that you've seen in the chat that struck something for you that you'd like to share in this group about self-care?
I think if I may.
Yes, Benjamin.
Thank you. I think it's all about yourself, taking care of yourself, and we know that no one else can do that but you. And so in life, I think the most dangerous thing is to put off and procrastinate to get to the things that you want to do. I've seen too many colleagues fall and promise themselves, you know, when I get to that stage of my life, then I'm going to do that. You're alive today. And to my colleagues, I want to say, don't wait till it's too late. Do it now. Whatever it is that you want to do, that's important. You're alive today. Tomorrow, you may not be able to do that.
Oh, thanks, Benjamin. Those are powerful words. Powerful words. There's something about the big group that keeps us silent. And I'm going to push you guys a little bit. If you have something to share, just drop it in. We're amongst friends. We're in the same place together. It's not how smart it sounds, it's where it comes from in terms of the sharing.
You know, Rama, what I really realize now with all these chats and what people are saying is, although we are all so different from different backgrounds, different things that we do in life, we exactly need the same thing. Everybody needs the care and the love, and we all need the same thing. It is just beautiful to hear.
And Irma, you know, what you just said talks to something very important. We often think that there's more that separates us than keeps us together. And what COVID is teaching us, that irrespective of where we are, this notion of the common thread of humanity, of caring for yourself and caring for others. That's the second part of this topic. Caring for myself and caring for others becomes something that you do from a heart space. It's not from a head space. It's not from anywhere else. It comes from a heart space of connection, that there are people who are worse off than me. There are people who depend on me. And if I don't take care of myself to do this work, I won't be able to do that work too. It's a reminder for us, and even Benjamin's point about the fact that, folks, we are living in a space where even tomorrow is not promised to us. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that notion of, if we can't do it now, and we keep putting it off, that tomorrow might never come. So no matter how weird something sounds, if something really turns you on, makes you feel good about yourself, whatever the hell it is, just make space to start doing it for yourself. And you all know what your now means for you, right? If it means hugging your child, hugging yourself, dancing in the shower, whatever the hell it is, just do it first and then get the experience of it. Anyone else before we ask Paula to drop in her little gems of what she does for her own self-care at this time? Satisfy yourself first before others. I love that from Liz. It's not a weakness to ask for help. It's a gift to others. Beautiful, beautiful, Liz.
Rama?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Gavin here.
Hi, Gavin.
Yes, no, for me, it's what's happening around is the first thing to focus is our belief system. And there's so much mistaken beliefs that we have about ourselves. And I indicated in the chat group that what helped me is because I worked on so many things about myself, understanding who I am, so that whatever happens around us, not affecting me and confuse me, because that mistaken beliefs can direct us in a different way, can direct our actions. And the moment you understand who you are, that self-worth, that self-belief, your response is going to be different. And that's why I responded by saying, if you're that mistaken beliefs, you can change that mistaken beliefs in the true belief system, change that, understanding who you are, you whatever challenge comes your way, you will be able to address that. And what I realized in last year, and especially with the COVID time, is that it's not about me. Whatever challenge comes, I need to understand how to respond to that situation. And sometimes you respond, the mistaken beliefs is so much interference, and then your response is negative, and you place so much stress on yourself. So I think from my side, the point that I took out of this COVID time is to correct my mistaken beliefs.
Lovely, Gavin, and beautifully. I love the way, Gavin, that you owned that conversation. It's just your story, and it's not a preaching to anyone else. And I think that's important. We just speak for ourselves, so we take what we think is useful. The question about beliefs and values, these quiet times are spaces where those things are tested, right? They are tested. Who am I really? And what do I want to leave behind in the world? And those are deeply personal questions. So thanks for sharing that, Gavin. We'd love to hear from Sam Kelisiwe's group, because all you beautiful people in that room, and you're just very quiet there. Anyone from that group?
Normally, we look at all the challenges that we have. They are stepping stones to the success of what we will have in the future. So every challenge, we take it as a stepping stone to life, and know and have wisdom and knowledge in everything that we do.
Lovely. There's something about stepping stones, and that this failure is not falling down, it's being able to fall down and get up again. Get up again. Learn something from the past and move forward. Sarian, I've got you.
I think just for me, we spoke about it in some of the breakouts, it's just how incredibly creative one is without thinking that you are creative. I mean, I'm still one of the stickman drawing people. And I mentioned to my group that, you know, when it came to this hard lockdown, I got paint and everything from my colleagues that are all the artists in the school. And I started just doing that. And I'm not, don't worry about it. I'm not going to have an exhibition or anything, but how amazing your mind is that it allows you to be creative, and that I could carry forward into my creativeness, because I'm teaching online at the moment because of my wonderful age. And I think that gave me wings to almost fly it. I mean, it's a very silly thing to say, but it just gave me that. It's almost like an egg that's broken open, you know, it's just like that. And I've become far more creative in the way that I teach now, be it online, just me and no feedback from children. But that's carrying me through, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, because I'm creative around that. That's all from me.
Sarin, I so love what you just said. You know, we often think that creativity is how other people appreciate our work and how good I am. And yet all of us are creative. We're just so used to being judged by other people for how we draw, what we do, how we turn up in the world. And if we let go of that stuff and relearn the notion of being creative, we'll bring so many gifts into this world. And we just don't know what's out there, right? Until we tap into it. We pick up the pen, we draw. We hear a song and we sing. We hear a tune on the radio and we want to dance. So we want to sing karaoke. And we just don't know. But we're always so conscious about being judged. In the absence of that voice, when you're alone, that judgment disappears. You can just jive and sing and do what you want and laugh with yourself about what you're doing for the creativity. So it's beautiful stuff. I see no more hands, so I'm going to hand over to Paula to give us some thoughts, Paula, of what you've seen, what you think we can add to this already rich conversation about self-care and where we are.
I think a trend that's coming out for me is that we are far more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. We found ways of coping, and that whether it's through art or craft or meditation or prayer or whatever it might be, you know, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for that. And maybe that's because we're so concerned about what others think or say or are going to judge us for, instead of, you know, looking to ourselves for our inner strength and our inner creativity and ability to problem solve. And that we've become flexible by having to adapt and go with the flow and, you know, not try and control things. We've had to let go of being in control in a lot of ways. And for some people that might have been scary to begin with, but as they've become familiar or more comfortable with it, they've perhaps, you know, found a new side of themselves, or refound themselves, reconnected with themselves by letting go of trying to be in control or control things and situations and outcomes. So being adaptable and flexible are perhaps some forgotten skills that we've reconnected with. I think potentially also what's come out is spirituality in whatever form that is. For some it's religion, for some it's meditation, for some it's going to nature. So whatever it does that feeds your soul and keeps you grounded is another big thing that's been coming out for me. And then a big thing that people have always, you know, pre-COVID, but also during COVID, that people have sort of complained about is time, and that they don't have time because they're so busy. And for the teachers in the room or the educators, you can appreciate this in that I don't have time is the adult version of the dog ate my homework, because we all have the same 24 hours. We don't get a minute more or a minute less. It's how we choose to use our time. And it sounds like people are choosing to use their time a lot more consciously or intentionally. So spending time with families or friends, or taking time out for self and self-care and self-nurturing. So the next time your kids come to school and say the dog ate my homework, you can have a response because the adult version is I don't have time. So those are some of the things that came out for me, Rama.
And Paula, what do you do for self-care? What do you do personally?
Personally, so I'm a very sporty, active person. So I always start off my morning with some form of exercise routine. So either going to the gym or going for a run. And I shared in one of my groups that I realized how I took that for granted. Just that freedom of movement, that independence that I could come and go where I wanted to, especially when we were in extreme lockdown. And that part of that for me was the relationship aspect of, relationship with friends or people that were close to me that I didn't realize how much seeing them every day or on a regular basis I took for granted, because when I couldn't see them, it made me value and appreciate it a lot more, and how that was a support structure for me. Also because of the role that I play as an LPF and some of the work that I do, I was out there as a source of support for everyone else, and I didn't have a support structure for myself until eventually I had to put my hand up and go, you know what, I'm not okay, and I do need help, and it's okay to not be okay. You don't have to be strong all the time. We're human at the end of the day, and we all at some point have a down day or a bad day, and it doesn't make you weak, it doesn't make you incompetent or anything along those lines. So I had to put my hand up and say I need help and reach out. Gardening was another thing that I did that had helped me feel grounded. So being in nature and seeing something or nurturing something, seeing it grow, planting seeds. So we planted a vegetable garden and seeing that come to life. Just the beauty of that and that process of nurturing something also helped. And then realizing the difference between what's valuable and what's important. So the value of freedom of movement, friends, relationships, time, versus what we and I placed a lot of importance and value on, which was material things. And you could hear it in the different platforms you were in, where people were complaining about lockdown here and not being able to go to the hairdresser, or, having a pedicure done, or this or that or whatever. And we placed so much importance on material stuff, or stuff that I think we've realized that we can do without, or we can do with less of.
Thanks, Paula. And I just want to build on the last point, which I think is really important for us in this group of us, and that it is the notion of that being connected to other human beings in these difficult times is really important. For us in this room as leaders, as educators, we have a role to play in that staff room when we meet with parents, when we meet with children, when there's a sense of hopelessness, when people feel disconnected. I think those of us in this room have chosen not to be spectators and to be engaged in some way in this process. So exactly what we did today, the notion of saying that it's through connection and through sharing our stories and being listened to and heard for the first time is in itself a healing process. Just that act, the fact that this afternoon you heard other people's stories and you shared your story of what you do is in itself a healing process. So sometimes when we do this work, we feel extremely alone, like the whole world is on our shoulders, and we want to save everybody in this space. And I think the notion for me is that, as Paula said, when we actually make ourselves vulnerable and ask for help and say, I'm a little lost right now, I'm feeling a little weak right now, I could do with some support right now from your SMT or the SGB or whoever it is. It's okay. We don't have to be supermen and superwomen all the time. It's hard work, folks. Why are we carrying this burden on ourselves each time? If all we got to do is say, right now, I'm in a low place, give me a hand, walk with me, help me, pick me up. And I guarantee you, like you just did in this room, people are always willing to give from a heart space. It's this notion of thinking that we always have to be in control. We have to have all the answers. We must tell people what to do and make other people feel comfortable. It's okay, I've got this, I'm going to hold you. What happens when you can't hold yourself anymore? and you go quietly into your little hole at the evening in the darkness, and you sit there and you don't sleep because you're just worrying about tomorrow and the kids and everyone else. That doesn't serve us in this space that way. And so please think about the people we with, association, connection, and what you bring into the room. You know, the one logo, the one value of the PFP space is that when one of us walks into a room, we'd like to think that possibility and hope walks in with us, so that we experience this and take this back to the spaces we're in. So all those people who are feeling overwhelmed by this notion of what's happening right now are reminded of the fact, fill your own cup first, even more than you normally would, for us to be able to face tomorrow, whatever it might bring. You are resilient, you are powerful, you have gifts, we have creativity, we have everything we need. And COVID is just another crisis in our lives. We will get through this. We will get through this. It's what human beings have done. It's how we get through this at the end. Do we choose to be stronger, more connected, more clear about our connection with spirit, with God, our own questions, our values in life, and our purpose? That's what this is all about. And if we get that right, then we're going to be a gift to the world. So from my side, thank you for being part of the session today and your beautiful sharing. This entire chat is going to be copied. So you have literally hundreds of things that you can try on your own as you work through this. Paula, last word to you, my dear.
I think, if anything, be gentle on yourself, be kind to yourself. We are all humans, and humans are not perfect. We are perfectly imperfect. And to appreciate and acknowledge your strengths, and appreciate and acknowledge the strength in being with others. There is strength and safety in numbers, and it's only together that we can help each other and uplift each other and get through this.
Thanks, Paula. And it's over to Luba and the PFP team.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you so much, Dr. Rama. So much wisdom. Thank you so much to all the attendees for sharing your self-care routines and everything. I'll just share my screen with everyone.